Today we're going to be talking about John Locke, and we're going to be looking at a primary source handout. But before you begin this video, pretend that someone has just come up to tell you about a fight that has happened at school. What are some things that might make you not believe the person who was telling you the story? I want you to finish this sentence. If a person came up to tell me a story about a school fight, I probably wouldn't believe them if, and I want you to finish by saying, why wouldn't you believe that person? Like, what's the reason why you wouldn't believe them? I'm going to give you an example, but you're not allowed to use my example as your answer. So, for me, I probably wouldn't believe someone if they were known to tell a lot of lies. Okay? So that's my example. You are not allowed to use this example, okay? This is my example. You need to come up with your own answer. So you need to fill in this blank with why do you think you wouldn't believe someone if they came up to you and were telling you a story about a fight, okay? So pause the video and I want you to do this question right now. Don't go forward until you finish this question. Okay, hopefully you finished that first question. Now the second question. Next, I want you to pretend the same situation. So this is still the same situation. So we're still with this fight up here. Okay? Has happened with another school fight. Has happened with another school fight. What are some things that might make a person credible? Credible means that you believe them when they tell you stories. So unlike this person up here who we did not believe, we want to be able to believe this person. So if a person came to tell me a story about a school fight, I probably would believe them if, and again, you cannot use my example, but I would probably believe them if they were a nice person and they weren't known for lying. So now you need to come up with your own answer for this question. You are not allowed to use my answers, either this one or that one. You need to come up with your own answers for those two questions. History has two types of sources. The first kind of source is the one you'd read about in a book. The second kind of source is one that you might see in real life. The ones where they're just in a book are known as secondary sources. The ones where you actually can see the person are known as primary sources. We use secondary sources to help us understand the big picture. For instance, in a history class, as a secondary source, you might read a textbook. It's a book about what happened, but it's not coming straight from the person who said it. On the other hand, we use primary sources to help understand the details. For instance, we might read about John Locke in a textbook, but in order to understand the details about John Locke, we may have to go back and read one of his original letters. Historians need both primary sources and secondary sources to learn about history. Primary sources help us to understand the details, and the secondary sources help us to understand the big picture. The problem is, primary sources can be boring and hard to read. The good thing is, primary sources can be helpful when learning about how people really were. You also know that you are getting the full story with primary sources. If you're only reading secondary sources, you're only reading what other people have already said about the person. So in order to get the full story, you really need to go back and read it straight from the person.